Hey guys, this is Sandoval here. In this video, we're going to talk about African civilizations from roughly the 1st, 2nd century up until roughly the 1500s. Okay, so again, I'm going to try and burn through this fairly quickly to keep this video short. However, at any point you could pause to kind of read more detailed information, look at the maps or images, etc. Okay, so Africa, right? It is a place that controls the key to the trade of salt and gold. They use camels, caravans to transport goods. They are dominated by the travels of various Arab and Berber nomads. They are home to one of the greatest human migrations, the Bantu migrations, and they are home to allegedly the richest man in history in Mansa Musa. Okay, so as you can see, that map has a variety of things labeled on it, different kingdoms, etc. Okay, so trans-Saharan trade. Let me move myself out of the way here. Okay, so trans-Saharan trade is going to be a big issue. That is another major trade route, right? So far we've talked about the Silk Road. We talked about Indian Ocean trade. It's also kind of what we're focusing on right now. And then the third major route is the trans-Saharan trade, right, which spans North Africa. Okay, so it's going to peak from 700 to 1500, right? It's going to improve drastically with the use of camels and the camel saddle. That's going to help improve these caravans and increase their use. The caravan was massive. It had anywhere from 1,000 to 12,000 camels per caravan, right? And so think about how many goods that many camels could carry when they got bags and things, saddles on them. Okay, so as you can see, a variety of trade routes. Okay, two major things that the trans-Saharan trade route in Africa is known for in this time period: salt and gold. So when we say trans-Saharan trade route, I want you to think gold and salt, salt and gold, salt and gold, salt and gold, gold and salt, gold and salt, gold and salt. Those are two major things that were traded across the trans-Saharan trade route, and that North Africa and these kingdoms were known for. Okay, so the regions of Africa, right? Breaking it down, right? Different parts of Africa, but when we say North Africa, right, that highlighted area in green on the right map, that's what we're talking about. And sub-Saharan Africa is everything below it. Okay, looking at the left map, right, there's North, West, East, Central, and Southern Africa. Right, those are the different regions. So when we use those phrases, those are the particular areas of Africa that we're talking about. Okay, Africa is massive. Okay, people don't realize how massive the continent of Africa is. So a little map there, right, shows that you could fit, right, the US, China, Mexico, India, a huge part of Europe. You could fit all these things on the continent of Africa. Massive. Okay, so pre-Islamic Africa. Okay, before Islam makes its way into Africa, right, there's a diverse group of societies. Their religion is typically animistic or polytheistic, right? They believe in different animal gods and spirits, multiple different gods for different things. Okay? And eventually, Islam is going to make its way into Northern Africa via the sub-Saharan trade routes. Okay, so these stateless societies in Africa, right, they lack a concentration of power and authority. Right? Authority and power are usually from a ruler and a court, but it's not seen as a full-time job. So there's not a full-time ruler, right? It's kind of like a council of family members or a community council that participates in something when a problem arises. Okay, so weaknesses of these stateless societies: there's no way to collect taxes, right? So they can't raise an effective military. There's no consensus, right? So it's hard to get everybody on one page or make a decision due to these things. And there's no way to agree on these large building projects that are needed for some of these societies to thrive and survive. Okay, so let me get myself out of the way here. Okay, so influence of Islam, right? So in the 600s to 700s, Islam is going to begin spreading across North Africa. A group called the Berbers, which are Sahara nomads. So these nomadic people are going to convert to Islam, and as they then roam and travel the Sahara and North Africa, right, they are going to spread Islam with them. Then, right, kind of this idea of why does Islam spread into North Africa? And one major thing that's going to be an issue is going to reinforce the king's authority, right? So it's going to help give kings, right, justification for them being in power and a king. And it's also going to give them some kind of common ground with these Islamic people that are coming in from the Middle East and beginning to trade. So Islam's going to kind of provide that foundation for these people to begin communicating and trading together. Okay, so quick pause, answer those questions, right? See if you could answer them based on what we've talked about, and then click play to move on. Okay, so the West African kingdoms are also referred to as the Sudanic states, which they're also sometimes referenced as the grassland kingdoms. Okay, so when we say that phrase, West African kingdoms, Sudanic kingdoms, we're talking about the same area. Okay, and so three major ones are going to be Ghana, Mali, and the Songhay Empire. Okay, and so we're going to focus on these in the coming slide. And again, right, these are going to be very important kingdoms once the discovery of gold is made. Okay, so these West African kingdoms, again, you can look at the map, right? Ghana, Mali, and the Songhay Empire. Okay, so Islam, right, reinforces these ideas of power and kingship. Okay, the majority of the population is not going to convert to Islam, but it is going to give the rulers that foundation they need to justify their rule. So they're going to begin, right? These empires are going to trade gold for salt. Again, salt and gold, salt and gold, salt and gold. At the time of some of these empires, right, these kingdoms, these cowrie shells are a form of currency. So Ghana, Mali, and Songhay, again, right, they're going to combine Islamic religion and culture with local African practices. They're each one, right, each kingdom is going to kind of build on the other, right? So Ghana is going to kind of get its start, then Mali is going to kind of take over until eventually the Songhay Empire takes over, right? And each are going to begin using the concept of taxes and tribute and military support. Okay, so the Ghana Empire, roughly 400-ish to 1076. This is the first great West African empire. Again, it's salt and gold, salt and gold, salt and gold. Okay, the introduction of the camel by Arab traders is going to make trade much easier. Right, gold is very heavy, so you cannot move it very easily. Here come these strong camels, right, that you could load up, right, with saddles worth of gold, and you could have multiple of them, and they could transport so much gold in a much quicker time. Okay, so that introduction of the camel, right, by Arab traders is going to be huge for the success of these West African kingdoms. Okay, the Mali Empire, roughly 1230 to about the 1600s, they are going to break away from Ghana and kind of become their own entity, right? Economy is they're going to focus on agriculture and gold trade, gold, 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 gold. Traders are going to begin spreading outside of West Africa, right, and they are going to become very, very wealthy. Around the 1300s, they are going to become an Islamic state, right? They're going to begin building mosques and holding public prayers. Their founder, the Mali Empire founder, pictured there, right, gets the nickname the Lion Prince. And he is going to create peace through loyalty, and he's going to punish crimes very severely. Okay, so then the Malian Empire, okay, roughly 1230 to 1600. Sorry, continuing with the Mali Empire, not then the Mali Empire, right? Timbuktu is going to be a major center, major city that is going to be kind of the hot spot for scholars, mosques, libraries, commercial markets, right? Timbuktu is going to be a huge center for those things in West Africa. Okay, the Malian Empire is mostly agricultural. They get irrigation along the Niger River. Okay, so Timbuktu, right, again, a lot on there, right? It's going to be a huge route where salt and gold is going to be traded. Okay, all these different things, right, are going to meet in Timbuktu. It's going to be a huge center of West Africa, and right, there's going to be a big Islamic influence. Different mosques and things will be built there. Okay, and It's a huge center for slaves and gold. Okay? However, once the transatlantic trade route, right, once the Americas are discovered, right, and Europe and Afro-Eurasia realizes there's a whole nother continent, right, there's going to begin a huge trade route going over there, and so then, right, these things are going to be moved from kind of the center heart of Africa, like Timbuktu, to the coast. Okay, so Mansa Musa, okay, is a Malian ruler. He's the second ruler of Mali, okay, and he is considered the richest, potentially, man to ever existed. Okay, so he makes a Hajj in the 1300s, right, and he travels with a caravan of over 60,000 men, right, with 80 camels each. Right, they're carrying 300 pounds of gold, right, this obnoxious amount of wealth. Hey, with him, he's going to bring back scholars and architects. So he's going to bring back Islamic information with him, right? People and information. Okay? And as he travels, right, to the world that he travels to the Middle East, right, people are going to see that there is this extreme wealth in Africa, okay? And that there are sophisticated empires and wealth in that part of the world. Okay. So then the Songhai Empire, roughly 1464 to 1591, it's going to become independent from Mali in the late 1300s. They again are going to be a major trading state. They too are going to practice Islam, right? And Muslim merchants are going to become wealthy and become elite. Again, the adaptation of Islam is going to create that common ground for these Arab traders that are coming in. The Songhai are going to remain dominant until they will eventually be defeated by the Moroccans, and the Moroccans are going to defeat them because they're going to have firearms, which are going to be introduced by the Portuguese, which gets into a whole other thing that we'll be talking about in the future. Okay, so the influence of Islam in these West African kingdoms. Okay, Islam is going to provide a universal faith, right? They're going to provide this royal cult ideology, right? Submitting why these people, right, these rulers should be in charge, and many more things. Okay, so again, a quick review. What are the three Sudanic states? What do they trade? And how does Islam help them? Pause, go think about it, come back. Okay, now we get to the east coast of Africa, the Swahili coast. Okay, so they're going to have Islamicized trading ports along the coast by the 13th century, so the 1200s. Okay, most merchants along the Swahili coast are going to have converted to Islam, again, to provide that common ground with these other Islamic traders. And also Islam supports this idea of merchants and financial motivation. Ibn Battuta, who we've talked about in class, we're talking about in class, he's going to visit these cities, right? And he refers to them as Muslim cities, even though they are on the east coast of Africa. Okay, so Swahili language is going to be a combination of Bantu and Arabic. So of an African language and a Middle Eastern language, right, are going to combine, and they're going to create this language called Swahili language. So syncretism is the merging of different cultures. So in this case, right, the Swahili language is a syncretic language because it's going to take two original languages, kind of combine ideas of both of them to create a third and separate language, the Swahili language. Okay, so Swahili civilization is basically a set of commercial city-states along the East Coast, and they are going to play a huge role in the Indian Ocean trade. Okay. Now, Indian Ocean trade, right? So unlike the Silk Roads, transportation costs are lower, right? Ships can carry a lot more things than a bunch of people and horses and camels and, right, things like that. So Indian Ocean trade is going to be much different than the Silk Road, right? So these sea roads can carry a lot more stable goods, right? Not just luxurious things, but just food and different things like that. So they're going to export raw materials. So exporting, right, furs, ivory, golden salt, in return, right, are going to be exported to India and various parts. And in return, luxury goods from India, the Middle East, and China are going to be making their way into the east coast of Africa. Monsoon winds are going to play a huge role in the Indian Ocean trade. right? So monsoon, you hear Indian Ocean trade, you should think monsoon winds. Okay, so these winds, right, are going to be seasonal, so they're going to blow in one direction at one time of the year and the other in the second half of the year. And so traders are going to know these and be able to travel to India and from India using these winds. So Central Africa without Islam. Right? We talked about how Islam played a huge impact on West Africa, North Africa, and Eastern Africa, right? The East Coast Swahili city-states. Okay? But what about Central Africa that does not have any Islamic influence reach it in this time period? Okay, so they often, right, developed free from Islamic contact because they're so centralized and outside of those ports and different trade routes. They were typically herders, farmers. They were skilled with iron. States do form, and they, begin replacing kind of small kinship tribal type groups with larger communities. And one major example of this is Great Zimbabwe. So it was a prosperous trading complex. It had massive amounts of gold surrounding it. Again, gold, Africa, gold, Africa, gold, Africa. Okay, and they are going to, right, dominate basically the gold trade in their area because they have massive amounts of gold surrounding them. It's believed that they had as many as 18,000 people living there at the height of it. And they also had grain silos and 30-foot walls, which are pictured there. Right, so they clearly, right, had some advancement and understanding of, farming and food storage and defenses, right, a way to build these 30-foot walls, right? So even without much outside contact from different regions of the world, cultures, etc., right? They still developed as other societies and things would develop, right? Just without Islam.